This is November 4th and the deer movement this season has been limited. The stand that I'm hunting needs a south or west wind. I believe this is the third time that I've hunted this stand. This morning I got to the tree a little after daylight and took about a half hour to get set up and settled. Up to this point in the season, the weather has been warm. So far this season, on days that I have hunted, the highs have been in the 80s. However, this week a cold front has moved in and dropped the temperatures into the 40s for the morning lows. Given the date and the current weather changes, the deer movement is expected to improve. This stand is located on a ridge in an area between rock outcroppings at the top of a drainage and a field that used to be a pasture. At this point, it's just overgrown. There's a fair amount of food up on this ridge. This ridge is loaded with oak trees that are loaded with acorns. Acorns mean food, and food means game will be present. There's a ton of sign on this lit ridge leading me to believe that the wildlife is using this area. On the prior hunts that I have had on this ridge, I have seen lots of squirrels and turkeys. Typically, I've seen a deer or two, however, no bucks to date. During the summer months, we were getting quite a few pictures of bucks using this area. However, the camera cards that I have pulled recently shown that we were getting very few pictures of deer and no bucks on the cameras, which is puzzling given the sign that is shown up on this ridge. However, I'm confident in this ridge because of the food and activity of other wildlife. As a hunter, this is the moment. In the off-season, many hunters work to build good habitat, put in food plots, and scout new areas, hopefully to have a chance for a 50-second moment with a mature deer. This is that moment. It comes suddenly, unexpectedly, and happens quickly. You have to settle your nerves and thoughts. It happens quickly and is over in an instant. You just have to hope you keep your wits and make the most of the moment. It may be your only opportunity you have all season. The deer was walking slowly when I released the arrow. He was calm, and I didn't feel like there was any reason to try to stop him as he was walking slowly. In hindsight, it may have been better judgment to allow him to pass the little tree and then to grunt stop him in the shooting lane. Things are happening fast at this point, and you must make decisions quickly. Fortunately, it worked out for me this time. When picking a spot to aim, I didn't compensate for the deer's movement, and the arrow appeared to hit him back a little farther than I would have hoped. The arrow zipped completely through the deer, a clean pass through, and the deer ran about 10 yards and stopped. I'm not sure if he understood what had stung him. I saw the arrow impact him and feared that it was further back than I had been aiming. However, I was hopeful the arrow location hit a spot allowing for a quick recovery. I stood there and watched the deer, hoping that he would get wobbly and go down. That didn't happen. He didn't appear to be affected, and after a stare-off with him, he walked off. My experience told me that the buck needed plenty of time to expire. Had the shot been perfect, he would have gone down in sight. He came through feeding, I got him at 20 yards and got through back and got on him. He was walking, so he got settled. Should have probably grunted at him, but I didn't want to alarm him either. He wasn't moving real hard, so that might be why I shot back just a little bit. I think I hit him back just a little farther than I would like, but I don't think it was too high. I think it was a good shot in that regard. It's a pass through. I can see my arrow laying on the ground down there. Then he went over and stopped at about 40 yards from me, and I just didn't have another shot. But it's been a good morning. He's the only deer I've seen. I've seen a lot of turkeys this morning. Had a group that went through early, and then I had another group as he came. As I'm watching him, I had a group of gobblers over here about 40 yards. I moved a little bit and tried to get their attention and did, and they left, so they didn't spook him. So he was pretty calm when I shot him. So hopefully we filled the tag. We'll find him. Well, I've stayed in the tree close to an hour since I've shot him. Shot him a little after, probably close to 9:30. It's a little after 10 now. So, by the time I get down out of the tree and get packed up, it'll be close to an hour. So no reason to push it. I found my arrow. I can see it from the tree and with my binoculars, and I've got pretty sure I can see blood on the ground over there where he stood for a long time. So hopefully he didn't go very far, and we're kind of reluctant to go head after him right now because the way he stood there for so long, I figured he was going to go down as long as he stood there, but he started walking off. I couldn't tell where the arrow entered him, but I did see, should have pretty good footage of the shot. We'll see. I may head back to the ranch and put it on the computer and see if I can't look at it a little bit closer. Nothing else, just to kill time and let him get down. So I'm thinking before I really push him too much, I'm gonna give it 2 hours. I'll have to sneak out of here. He kind of went the direction I went, so I'm gonna have to keep an eye open for him when I go that way. I'll go down and find blood and mark it and hang something up so we can find blood easy enough, but I should be able to find it without too much problem. So hopefully at the end of the blood trail there's a deer. Well, I'm down out of my tree. I'm going to walk over here and see what this arrow looks like. Arrow's pretty clean. Sure I hit him? Well, I found my arrow, and boy, there's just nothing on that arrow. That's not a good sign. I know it went through that deer. It was right in here. There's blood. There's blood. This must have been where he stood. Well, I've got blood right here. This was where he stood for quite a while. I can see where he took off that way, where he took off walking. And hopefully I can find it when he took off running that direction. Don't have a hard time following it after I shot at him again. Well, I'm packed up, and I've been here. It's been almost 2 hours since I shot him. It's 11:30, 11:15 now, so I should just be able to go find him if he's hit hard. I've already found blood, so hopefully I can get on him and track him pretty easy. So stay tuned. Well, I found blood over here, and I'm packed up, ready to head back to the farm. I'm gonna see if I can't follow his blood just a little ways. If he starts going down that hill, I'm gonna go back to the barn. Hopefully he'll be up here no more than 100 yards. I'm still up on top of this ridge. So this is where he stood for a long time. There's his blood. All you other hunters out there, young hunters, carry some toilet paper. It's very good for a couple things. One is the obvious. The second one is marking your trail. Particularly if you got sparse blood, you can really pick up and figure out where they're going. So we're gonna see where it went. It's floating out pretty good. Well, we're coming back kind of light to start tracking. And I've got turkeys underneath my stand on the other side. Looks like that group of gobblers. Now we're coming back to where we found last blood. So here's my last blood, where I've marked it with toilet tissue. It's been several hours now, about 5 hours, 4 or 5 anyway. So let's see if we can't find him. Well, he ain't bleeding very much. He run right through here. I found a little bit of blood right there. It looks like he went down that hill. He should be slowed down though. You got blood there?
No, I'm looking at the leaves torn up.
Yeah, I'm sure that's the path right there someplace. So anyway, he's fun around. He's probably about 100 yards from the stand now, maybe 80. Well, this is a crazy story. So I shot him early this morning around 9:30. I tracked him maybe 100 yards and then lost blood. I didn't track him even that far. Just tracked him maybe 10 yards and lost blood. And he ain't bleeding very much. And we gave him 4 hours. Run right through here. I found a little bit of blood. Right and it looks like he went down that hill. He should be slow. Kind of come back. We only tracked him about maybe 100 yards, 75 or 100 yards from our last blood, and then lost blood. We could not find him. So we kind of gave up, and my other buddies left, and they went hunting tonight. And I decided to continue looking for him, so I went back and did some waypoint markings, and then tracked him down to a certain point, and then I had another deer do this, so that I tracked over here. So I just kind of went that same direction and got to walking along an area that I had tracked a deer before. I'm walking along this deer path, and I see something in front of me, and it's a deer. It's a buck. I could tell it's a buck. He's laying on his belly, flat up, back straight up, and I could see his horns were up. And I got within about 10 yards of him, and but I couldn't get an arrow on him because I was facing his butt's the only thing I could see. So I'd get sideways of him just a little bit where I could get another arrow in him, and he jumped up and took off running. And I did not get an arrow off. I didn't let the one fly. I got drawn back and tried to follow him, but he was blowing out of there. Anyway, I continued to slowly pursue him that direction. And I got to an area where I could see a white belly. I found him kind of on his side, belly up, like you see him now. And I was taking some few steps, and I saw him raise his head up. He was looking at me. I'm like, goodness gracious, he's going to do this again. I cannot not get an arrow on him this time. So I don't have my rangefinder, so I really was just guessing. So I guessed him somewhere between 35 and 40 yards, and kind of found a area to get an arrow through. And you can see down there, you can see that arrow glowing. And so I did get that arrow in him. I think he's expired at this point, but I think that one got in good chest cavity up into his lungs. So I've been waiting here about 15 minutes. I'm gonna go down there and see if I can't field dress him. Hopefully he's expired when I get down there. But what a crazy story. I hope it's over. I hope it's just field dressing him and getting him out of here. But I finally caught up to him. He left no blood. No blood at all. That's the exit hole you can see there. And that's a dispatching shot there. That's not the original shot. So luckily I was able to get that one in him, because I could not track him. But he's done. Anyway, there he is.